lichen according to structure. Hello friend, I am Ayantika. In this video, I am going to describe various types of lichens according to their structure. Before going to the main topic, I would like you to know that I have made videos regarding the basic overview of lichens. I have also made various videos regarding the algae. Please subscribe the channel to get more access to these videos. Thank you for watching the channel. Now in this video I'll be discussing about various type of lichens according to structure. Before we go to it, I should tell you what are lichens. Now lichens, this is a very good example of a commensalistic relation where two or more organisms get benefited from each other. It can include two or three type of partners. The microbial partner is the fungi. Mostly ascomycete fungi are in this type of association. A few type of basidomycete fungi is also present, and the Phycobian photobiont partner is the green algae and blue-green algae. Some type of lichens can contain green algae and the fungi part, and some type of lichen can contain the three type of partners, that is the green algae, blue-green algae and the fungi. Whereas some type of algae may contain earlier green algae and fungal part, and later it can include the cyanobacteria as well. Structurally, a crustose lichen is the very first type of lichen in structure. It is much simpler than the foliose or fructicose. This crustose lichen, as the name suggests, it forms a very thin crust that is closely adherent to the substrate. It grows on soil, rock, bark of trees or wood. It can in the soil, it can grow both in the silicaceous soil and rock also. It can grow in both limestone or granite rock. It is closely adherent to the substrate, which means that we cannot separate the crustose lichen in intact form during the separation, because while separating it will either get fragmented and we cannot take it in intact form. So during this lichen can tolerate high temperature, high degree of desiccation. During aridity or high temperature, what it does is the outer edges they start peeling up from the substrate, and during this time, this crustose lichen, it gives a superficial appearance like the foliose lichen, but actually it is not the foliose lichen, because if we observe it microscopically, we see that the crustose lichen have a different structure than the from the foliose lichen. So superficially it might look like a foliose lichen, but structurally if we look, we can get to know that this is a crustose lichen, because this foliose lichen it has both upper and lower cortex, and crustose lichen does not have the lower cortex. And crustose lichen have different color. It can vary from green to orange to yellow, black, and they require high amount of sunlight for better photosynthesis. And during the arid condition, when the margins peel up, they give the structure, they give areole like the structures, and this areole like structure is called a rhimose or areole, and the entire lichen is also called then placodioid lichen. This crustose lichen, it is adapted to a wide variety of temperature and wide degree of hydration. Crustose lichen, it is a very slow grower because it is an extremophile. and as it grows over a wide range of temperature and wide range of humidity, so the such resilient plant, it has got a very slow growth rate because it grows in extreme condition. So it though it prefers high humidity and high moisture and high sunlight, but crustose lichen, it has a slow growth rate. One of the other reason is that it has low surface area compared to volume. While we look at foliose or fructicose lichen, they have a much higher surface area compared to volume. So therefore, the rate of photosynthesis of crustose lichen is much lower than the foliose or the fructicose. So the growth rate of the slow growth rate of crustose lichen is because of, first though, they live in a very stressful condition, they are extremophiles, and then it has a lower surface area compared to volume, so low rate of photosynthesis. That is why it requires it grows in area where it is maximally exposed to sunlight for most part of the day and most part of the year. Now, crustose lichen, they do not have any symbiotic vegetative propagules like Soredia or Isidia, but they, however, reproduce by vegetative fragmentation, and they also produce carpogonium and spermatogonium. And these crustose lichen, being a very pioneer species, they help in the chemical physical weathering of rock, and this property is used by successional plants in the ecological succession. This is the this picture of Lecanora concolor. This is the structure of crustose lichen. We see that it has an upper cortex of fungal material, fungal filaments that are closely adhered to each other. And this densely packed filamentous region is called upper cortex. In the next layer, we have algal cells that are intermingled with the filamentous fungal hyphae, and next to the algal layer is the medulla, which is intertwined fungal hyphal layer, but this hyphal layer is much loose than compared to the upper cortex. This medullary layer, some of the fungal in the medullary layer, some of the fungal filaments, they reach down to the substrate and secrete some gelatinous substance from its tip that helps in adhering closely to the substrate. Now this crustose lichen, in this crustose lichen, these type of filaments which help in adhering to the cortex, these are called rhizines, and crustose lichen has got rhizines throughout the lower cortex that helps this crustose lichen to easily closely adhere to the substrate. Now, the crustose lichen is of great importance, both economic as well as ecological. Now we know that the crustose lichen, being a pioneer species, helps in vegetating a very barren or nearby area, so that the bryophytes do not grow in around the area where crustose lichens are growing. So if you want to keep the bryophytes away, you can easily plant the crustose lichen in the area. They also this crustose lichen is of archaeological importance, means that these crustose lichen are used to date the age of the rock in which it is found. This is done by a technique called lichenometry, where the diameter of the largest thalli of any species are measured. This is based on the assumption that the lichen, they grow on a very constant rate, and we take the diameter of the largest thalli, making an assumption that this largest thalli containing lichen is the oldest of all of the other lichens found in the rock. This crustose lichen also produce various type of chemicals which can act in various economical, which has many economical benefit, I could say, because this crustose lichen produces certain substances which has got antibiotic property. Also, it is producing lichenin. This lichenin is a mixture of various type of carbohydrates, and this is a raw material in various type of pastry and confectionaries. It also produces vulpinic acid, which has got anti-inflammatory property. These are the crustose lichens examples of various crustose lichen. We see that the crustose lichen is composed of powdery, endolithic, epilithic, and various type of lichens. Fructicose lichen. Fructicose lichen, it looks like a mini sharp or a tasseled pendulous form. So structurally, it is either upright or pendulous. This fructicose lichen, it is highly branched, or it can also be unbranched, but it is either flattened or round, and this the structure, it is totally different from structurally, it is totally different from crustose and foliose lichen. The whole structure, it is attached to the substratum by a holdfast. So it is very easy to remove the foliose fructicose lichen as a whole intactly from the substratum. And this type of foliose lichen are very tolerant to high degree of desiccation, and this it has got various colors, but color is mainly dependent upon the amount of light. If the light is high, then it will have a good color, and if it has low, it is subjected to very low amount of light, it will be much paler. So this type of lichen, they reproduce by either fragmentation vegetatively, and asexually it reproduces by soredia. We know that soredia is a single algal cell that is surrounded by fungal filaments, and pycnidium. Pycnidium, they are a fuzz-shaped structure that is immersed in the tissue of the thallus. Now this sexually they reproduce by carpogonium and spermatogonium, and this fertilized carpogonium, actually the ascogonous hyphae produces 8 ascospores, and these type of ascospores are produced in either apothecium, flush-shaped apothecium, flush-shaped perithecium, and the disc-shaped apothecium. I'll be discussing about the reproductive structures and various reproductive strategies of lichen in a separate video that will be upcoming in a few weeks. So this is about fructicose lichens reproduction. Now, this crustose lichen, sorry, the fructicose lichen, it as well as the crustose lichen, it has a primary structure and secondary structure. Primary structure I will be discussing later. This secondary structures include a very hollow stalk-like structure called the podacium, which was also found in various type of other lichens also. This is a hollow structure which contains the outer cortex of what to say, the outer cortex of fungal hyphae, and the below the fungal hyphae layer, this is the fungal hyphae layer, and below there it is the layer of the chlorophyte, that is the green algae or blue algae, and beyond it is the hollow material. Now, this podacium or podacia, it actually has sexual organs on all over the surface, and if it contains only sex organ on the top of it, then it is the pseudopodentia. Otherwise, podacia, it has sex organ all over its region. This is a secondary thallus because it is mainly used as a reproductive structure. If the entire part contain the apothecium on its surface, then it is podacia, and if it contains only apothecium in the top, it is called pseudopodacia, because in podacia the entire structure contains reproductive cells, but in case of pseudopodentia, that is which is found in the Sterocaulon and Cladia species, they this only tip contain the apothecia, so which in from which we can confer that this tip region only contains the reproductive tissue. As this tip contains the reproductive cells, so this is called the pseudopodacia or false podacia. And this podacia contains these squamulous structures which are called basal squamules. These basal squamules are present only during the very beginning of this podacia. As the podacia matures, which means that the apothecia becomes mature and starts releasing spores, these basal squamules are gradually lost. And this type of lichen which contain this podacia is called podaceate lichen. For example, cladonia. This podacia, it is a secondary thallus and it arises vertically from the surface of the primary thallus. Now we are going to see what is the primary thallus of this foliose lichen. As we see, the outer orange color is the cortex. This cortex is composed of fungal hyphae that is closely appressed or adhered to each other, and on the next layer we see algal cells. This is the algal layer, and algal layer contain either green algae or cyanobacteria, or a mixture of both. So next to the algal layer is the medullary layer. This medulla has very loose loosely intermingled fungal hyphae, and the center and the innermost layer, it is either very dense or it is hollow, depending upon the type of species. Fructicose lichen is a good bioindicator because being very bushy in structure, they can trap a lot of dust material This dust material contains various metals in particulate form. It also contains various acid in particulate form or any other substance that is present in atmosphere. So it is a very good indicator of the type of the substances, means type of metals, non-metallic substances or any particulate matter that is present in the atmosphere. This fructose lichen also produces various types of antibiotic compound that is used in against the streptococcus and staphylococcus bacteria. Also, fructose lichen is used for producing dyes like orange, yellow, green, blue and purple colored dye. This can also be used as a good fire starter. Also, this has got various chemicals which are used as a preservative in cosmetics. Also, it is a good source of winter food for various type of ungulates like reindeer. And this fructose lichen, being very showy, can be used in floral decorations or any other type of decorations, in whether it is a form of wreath or whether it is a any other wall decorations. And this fructose lichen, they as they cannot tolerate high sulfur rich here, so this is become an endangered species in industrial area. This fructose lichen can grow over wide range of humidity, so it acts as a stabilizer of sandy soil. It can even grow on the sand dunes. So this fructose lichen helps in stabilizing the dune soil, and also in when it is grown on soil or sand dune, it acts as a food for various type of larvae of Lepidopterus order. These are the name of various fructose lichen. We see in this picture, it is Cetraria nivalis, which is a picture of Icelandic moss, which is used as a delicacy in the Scandinavian countries. Foliose lichen. As the name suggests, it looks like leaf. So the thallus is green, leathery and is lobed like the leaf. The upper surface has got depressions and ridges, and the lower surface is sooty, and this foliose lichen being attached to the substratum with just a holdfast, it can be easily detached from the substratum. Now it grows on the top of rock and bark. So this foliose lichen, it actually prefers a very damp site or the site which has got high degree of rainfall, or at least if not direct rainfall, it gets moisture from mist or snow. So this foliose lichen has got the photosynthetic partner as blue-green algae. And again, one problem is that the blue-green algae are very susceptible to acid rain. That is either rain containing carbonic acid or sulfurous acid or nitric acid. So this type of lichen won't be found in the industrial area, although they can grow in a wide range of temperature conditions, and also these type of lichen has got great lifespans. They are attached to the substrate by holdfast also, and by certain type of rhizoids which are closely adhered to one, which are the fungal filaments which are closely adhered to each other to form the rhizome. Now, this foliose lichen thallus, it lies parallel to the substrate surface, and in this picture we see the thallus of Pulmonaria lobaria. This foliose lichen, some of the foliose lichen are quite susceptible to pollution, especially the acid rain, but it can tolerate other type of pollutants also. This the Pulmonaria lobaria, which we saw in the last picture, it is very rare and threatened because this Pulmonaria lobaria cannot tolerate acid rain. Otherwise, it is tolerant to other type of gases, but it is not tolerant to acid rain condition. This foliose lichen prefers low temperature, although it can grow in a very various temperature, but in cold temperature it retains its vigorous growth, and during the high temperature month it becomes dormant. This folios lichen, sometimes they have hold fast or sometimes they have rhizomes, but during high temperature they actually stop or slow down their metabolism, and they curl up, and on return of the moist condition, they again becomes they absorb the water and they become flat again. This is a picture of Palmalia sulcata. This is the structure of foliose lichen. Here we see that the upper layer is that of the upper cortex, that is the what to say, the upper cortex of fungal hyphae that is closely adhered to each other. The next layer is the layer of algal cells, which can be both green algae as well as cyanobacteria. Next to the algal layer is the medullary layer, which is actually the fungal layer but loosely intermingled. They are not closely adherent like the upper cortex. This helps in the gaseous exchange. And next to the medullary region is the lower cortex. This lower cortex are present only in this foliose lichen. They were absent in fructicose lichen and also in crustose lichen. So this lower cortex present only in the foliose lichen. But this lower cortex, it is not uniform. It has got it is interrupted by this breathing pores. These breathing pores help in gaseous exchange. Also, the fungal hyphae attach to the substrate through these pores. So this foliose lichen is the only lichen which has got upper and the lower cortex, which is a very good important point to remember. Now this breathing pores, they act as breathing pores as well as anchor points. This is the diagram of Siphyllae, and there are also a structure called pseudosiphyllae. In Siphyllae, the in Siphyllae, the lining of the breathing pore, it is composed of the inner cortex, and in pseudosiphyllae, lining of the breathing pore is of medullary origin. This is the basic difference between Siphyllae and pseudosiphyllae, but they are of both similar function, that is they help in gaseous exchange, but structurally they are a bit different only in the inner lining of the breathing pore. Now another structure found is the cephalodia or cephalodium. Now this is actually as we know that the foliose lichen, it has the upper surface contains, sometimes it contains hair like structure, So what happens? This hair-like structures, they act, they trap the cells of the cyanobacteria, and once they trap the cells of cyanobacteria in the hair, the hair-like structure, which are actually the fungal extension. This fungal extension or hair, they trap the cyanobacteria and grow around grow their filaments surrounding the cyanobacteria, and we see this type of structure. The hair-like structure, they grow over the cyanobacteria in course of time. Cyanobacteria also multiply, and the fungal more number of fungal hypha grow over the increased number of cyanobacteria, and this type of structure called cephalodia or cephalodium, it present on the upper surface of the what to say, upper surface of the thallus. So this type of cephalodia are present only where the hair-like structure are present, or sometimes this type of cephalodia can also be present in the medullary region, and it grows in such a way, it becomes it grows, and it forms a lump, and it pushes its way, and this so we can say that cephalodia grow on the upper surface as well as the medullary region, and this cephalodia contains cyanobacteria and the fungal filaments, but never green algae. So main function of cephalodia is nitrogen fixation. Apart from that, it also increases the photosynthetic area, because we know that cyanobacteria can photosynthesize as well as fix nitrogen. Now this cephalodia in this picture, it is shown it is rounded, but it can also have other type of structure, like it can have a dish-like structure, disc-like structure, or it can be even branched. So this foliose lichen, they reproduce vegetatively also, and they reproduce by sexual asexual means also. They reproduce by vegetatively by fragmentation, and asexually by soredia and acidia. Now, soredia, acidia, they contain, these are structures which contain algal filaments surrounding one green bacteria or cyanobacteria, and this acidia, though they are functionally similar, that is, they are asexual reproductive structures, but they are structurally different. Soredia contains, it is mostly globulose in structure, and acidia, it is filamentous, cylindrical, either branched or unbranched. And soredia contain a single algal or cyanobacterial cell surrounded by filament of fungi, but acidia, it contains the upper cortex surrounding the algal cells. So structurally they are different, but functionally these soredia and acidia are similar. Sexually, they reproduce by Carpogonium and Spermathecia, which this Spermathecia and Carpogonia, they are the structures, and they are present on the upper surface, and this the final fertilized structure is the ascogenous hypha. This ascogenous hypha later develop into 8 ascospores, and these ascospores are formed inside either apothecia or perithecia, which are the fruiting body, and this apothecia and perithecia, these are the structures which releases ascospores. Apothecia and perithecia both are present on the upper surface, upper cortex of the foliose lichen, and they can also be present in the podacia also, and they can either be immersed in the upper layer, or they can be on the top of some raised stalk. I'll be discussing more about detail about the reproduction in various type of lichen in our upcoming video. So please subscribe to get updates of more such videos on lichen. Also, I forgot to mention that this crustose and foliose lichen, they also they propagate by vegetatively by this fragmentation, and asexually by Soredia acidea, and this crustose and fructicose lichen also reproduces sexually by this apothecial and perithecial structure. Now, this apothecia is disc shaped and perithecia is flask shaped. Otherwise, they are the structures which release ascospores. Now, this is the picture of Lobelia pulmonaria, and we see that economically it is very important because this foliose lichen, it produces a variety of lichenic acids like striatic acid, desmethyl striatic acids, and these wide variety of acids have got anti-inflammatory, antibiotic property. Also, these act as a deterrent for herbivory. Herbivory means, of course, it would be acting as a food to the ungulates like the reindeer, but also these are foraged by smaller organisms like mollusk, termite, or nematodes, and various type of other invertebrate insects. The one important thing is that the upper cortex of the foliose lichen, it produces certain type of acids which act as a sunscreen, and this property is used to produce cosmetics also. The foliose lichen is a food source for ungulates like deer, goat, and caribou. This foliose lichen is also used as a building material for certain type of bird's nest. Also, foliose lichen is a good indicator of atmospheric pollution because it can trap a wide variety of pollutants in the air by in its hairs. As we while studying the structure, I told you that the upper cortex has got hairy projections, which can be dense, or which can be very scarce. They on this hair like structure on the upper cortex, not only the cyanobacteria but also all other type of spores, type of pollutants gets trapped in this hairs, and so this foliose lichen can be very good indicator for atmospheric for determining the atmospheric condition. What are the pollutants found? Also, this foliose lichen are pioneer species next to the crustose and fructicose lichen, and so these acts in weakening the rock both physically and chemically, and by the help of producing various type of acids that chemically degrade the upper layer of rock, and also physically by the help of rhizoids. These actually the rhizoids penetrate the cracks of rock. These cracks of rock are formed by the by the rapid cooling and heating of the rock, and this lichen, what it does is that they further increase the cracking process by penetrating in the cracks and crevices by the rhizoids. And we know that the rhizoids also rhizoids composed of various fungal filament. It produces various type of acids, so they help in physical chemically breaking the rocks. This property is also found in the crustose lichen also. Foliose lichen, it produces a wide variety of medicinal property. It against asthma, urinary problem. It also acts as an appetizer. It can be used in treatment of hemorrhages, eczema. Also, it is because of this antiseptic antibiotic property. It is also very good ulcer preventing substance. It is anti-inflammatory. So it is generally used by animals to protect themselves against oxidative stress. These are the examples of various foliose lichen, and this picture is of Arctoparmelia centrifuge. Gelatinous lichen. Now, gelatinous lichen, as the name suggests, it is gelatinous, which is because of the blue-green algae partner, mostly Nostoc cytonema, and this thallus is actually thick but brittle, and is very dark colored. In this picture, we see the gelatinous lichen with its apothecial discs. Here we see this is the apothecial discs present in the gelatinous lichen. As the name suggests, we know that gelatinous lichen, it can be tolerant to very dry condition. It can tolerate desiccation. During dry condition, it shrinks off, and during during or after rain, it absorbs water and it swells and becomes gelatinous. It can grow on a wide variety of soil. It can grow on acidic as well as basic type of soil. As we see, it can grow on silicaceous, calcareous, limestone and granite. And also this gelatinous lichen is homomeric in structure, which means that it has a single layer of a single layer containing both the green algae as well as fungal filaments. And the photosynthetic partner is the cyanobacteria, which is mostly Nostoc and cytonym. So this gelatinous lichen, it not only fixes carbon dioxide but also fixes nitrogen. So gelatinous lichen is very important in case of the nitrogen as well as the carbon cycling. This lichen, while it leaks out the fixed nitrogenous compound that it produces, it leaks out during the rain, both from living as well as dead lichen. Now this lichen, being of homomerous structure, they reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation or asexually by Esidia, Soredia, Pycnidia, Conidia, and it also reproduces sexually by Carpogonia and Spermatogonia, which produces ascospores in the apothecia. This is the picture of Colema. Gelatinous lichens, they are the early colonizer of any rocky or sandy substrate. So being an early colonizer, they are the pioneer species, and they are not always always not very helpful, because some species of gelatinous lichen, they are poisonous. This gelatinous lichen is an indicator of basic soil. That is, they mostly grow in limestone, calcareous type of soil. Also, granite, which is also basic rock. So, they mostly grow in basic soil. And also they compose they compose important part of the cryptobiotic soil. Now what is cryptobiotic soil? Now cryptobiotic soil, actually cryptobiosis is or anabiosis, it is a process. It is this process is in this process we the metabolic state, it is altered from metabolic what to say, slowing down of metabolism to high metabolism depending upon the external climatic condition. In cryptobiosis, anabiosis, during the harsh climatic condition or environmental stress, the metabolism is either slowed down or it is entirely stopped, and on return of conductive condition environment, the metabolism speeds up. So this environmental stress can be either temperature, that is high temperature, low temperature, or humidity like desiccation to, and also there can be some oxygen deficiency also. So this during the stress, there is a reduction of metabolism, and this type of cryptobiosis or anabiosis, it is found in many insects. It is also found in nematodes, brown shrimps and brine shrimps, and plants also, and also microbes. This microbes mainly includes various type of fungi, especially yeast, and also various type of bacteria. Also, one microbial invertebrate is the tardigrades or the water bear. This water bear is also a very good example of cryptobiosis. Now, all these organisms that compose only that are present only in the upper few millimeters of the soil layer, these organisms along with the soil particle, they form the cryptobiotic soil crust. So this anabiosis or cryptobiosis is also it is also found in lichen. So lichen along with other cryptobiotic organisms and the soil, they form the cryptobiotic soil crust. Now, what is the importance of this cryptobiotic soil crust? Cryptobiotic soil crust is actually, it helps in stabilizing the soil, and especially this cryptobiotic soil crust are found in arid condition, and very high temperature condition or very low temperature condition where the rate of soil formation is low. Also, in this type of conditions also we see that the rate of erosion by wind or other type of factors, the rate of erosion is high. So once the number one is that the soil is formed at very low rate, and number two, the soil is also getting degraded. So in this type of environment, this cryptobiotic soil crust actually stabilizes the soil and also checks soil erosion. So this cryptobiotic crust, apart from stabilizing the soil, also helps in nitrogen and carbon cycling, because gelatinous lichen, as we know, has cyanobacteria which photosynthesizes and also fixes nitrogen. So in nitrogen and carbon cycle, we can find we see that the gelatinous lichen, it helps in carbon and nitrogen cycling. Also, it is a part of cryptobiotic crust, and also this cryptobiotic crust reduces the albedo. What is albedo? Albedo is the amount of light, sunlight reflected by any surface. So by reducing the amount of by reducing the albedo, more amount of light can be utilized by the soil lichens or soil other organism, photosynthesizing organism like the algae and lichen. They use this light for their benefit to photosynthesize, and this can be later they used as a food by other cryptobiotic organisms like nematode and shrimp and worms and tardigrades, which are present in this type of soil. And this gelatinous lichen in the soil crust, it also helps in retaining the soil. Not only this lichen, but also um, uh, any type of plant material help retaining the soil moisture. Filamentous lichen. Now, As the name suggests, we know that the filamentous lichen, it is filamentous in structure. It can be branched or unbranched, but it contains many hair-like projections. Now, this filamentous lichen, it has got two type of structures. And the structure is determined in filamentous lichen. The structure is determined by the type of fungi. Sorry, by the type of algae it contains. One type of one type of filamentous lichen is what to say? It is and the one type of lichen, the fungal filaments, they run parallel to the surface of the algal filament, and another type of filamentous lichen, the fungal hypha, they they are twisted around the algal filament. So two types. In the first type is the Rhacodium type, and the second type is the Cistocoleus type. The filamentous lichen, it grows on the rocky as well as soil substrate, mostly basic, and they are present in area which either though it gets high amount of rainfall, or it has a high humidity, that is maybe area surrounding the riverine region, or in the shore rock, which gets water in the form of splashes, water splashes from the waves of from the waves, and this filamentous lichen, it has got either green algae or blue green algae as the photosynthetic partner. Examples of filamentous lichen. Bicoid lichen. Oh, this bicoid lichen, they have an appearance of a teased wool, and the dominant photobiont is of two types. One is green algae, another is the blue green algae. And this bicoid lichen has two is based on the type of lichen structure. The bicoid lichen is of two types. One is which looks very cottony, another is coccoid structure. The cottony structure, which is filamentous, is made up of green algae, mainly Trentophila, and the coccoid structure is made up of nostoc cytomel. And this bicoid lichen, they are of homomerous structure, and they are present in various type of substrate, like from rock to soil to trunk and bark of trees, on the top of leaves and lianas, and they can be present in both hot tropical rainforest as well as cold temperate forests. And they reproduce by fragmentation, and also sexually by we see here in the picture, we see that there are apothecial discs. This is the picture of conidium. And next is a leprose lichen. This leprose lichen, it is very has a very powdery, dusty appearance. So it is also called dusty lichen. And this is composed of a single homomerous layer, and this homomerous layer, it is attached to the substrate, but not that much, because it is easily fragmented, and it actually reproduces by this fragmentation process. However, in this type of leprose lichen, it is homomerous in structure. That is, it has a single layer of loosely interwoven fungal filament with algal cells inside it, and it does not have any upper or lower cortex. It grows on the substratum, and when it is dry, it gives the appearance of a caked up mud. And they are present in the rocky or soil substrate. They can also grow on the bark of trees also. And this leprose lichen, it prefers humid atmosphere. When the condition is very arid, they stops their metabolism and curls up. And the mode of reproduction is vegetative reproduction, and by fragmentation, though no sexual reproduction is found, but they are seen to speciate. Squamulous lichen, they, as the name suggests, they look like the scales of fishes. The thallus, it looks on the from the thallus, it looks like the scales of fishes intertwined on each other. This squamulous lichen, it grows in both the soil as well as rock. This squamulous lichen, it is actually it has got a characteristic that is very close to both crustose as well as the foliose lichen. So some of these lichenologists, they due to the similarity of squamous lichen with the crustose lichen, they consider that this squamulous lichen is a type of crustose lichen. Now, the thallus of squamulous lichen, it is homomeric and it is flat and it is closely adhered to the substrata, and the margins the margins fold up, and in this margin area, we don't see the upper and the lower cortex. This is the structure of squamulous lichen. We see that it has a upper filamentous layer of hyphal filaments, and the lower layer of green as well, or blue green algae intermingled with the filaments of the fungi. On the we see that the structure of squamulous lichen is very close to is very similar to that of crustose lichen. In crustose lichen also we miss the lower cortex, and in squamulose also we don't have this lower cortex. That is why most of the lichenologists, they consider this squamulous lichen as a type of crustose lichen. With this, I end my video. These are the examples of few squamulous lichen. And thank you for watching my video. Please like and share the video with your friends. Please subscribe to get more such videos on lichens. Also, I have made videos on algae. So please subscribe to get the more such videos regarding various aspects of botany. Thank you.